So we're going to talk a little bit about what AI is, how it can be used, some of the things that are important in terms of how AI functions, and there we go. So some of the idea of what AI is, and some of the understanding of what natural processing languages are, and those sorts of things. So first and foremost, what is AI? Well, artificial intelligence, as the slide says, is the creation of software that imitates human behaviors and capabilities. For any of you that have ever seen the television show Star Trek Next Generation, I'm sure you'll remember the character Data, right? Data is an AI-based robot who has the capability of learning and understanding how things work, and can interact with other objects, whether they're human beings or devices, computers, whatever, and learn from them to be able to interact to them. The only thing, of course, that Data was missing was the emotions chip, which, if I remember correctly, there was one of the movies where they actually put it in and it went sideways. But anyways, so the idea behind machine learning is that it's the foundation of artificial intelligence systems. And machine learning is the process that we use to actually teach a computer, an application, a bot, whatever it is, how to make predictions and draw conclusions from different types of data. Okay, and we'll talk about sort of the idea of one of those things being a bot here in a few slides, and the idea behind those sorts of areas. Another thing that AI is useful for is anomaly detection, right? So if you're looking at large amounts of data, or you're looking at some sort of geographical information, that sort of stuff, you can use the artificial intelligence capabilities to detect anomalies in the system. Computer visions, so this could be done as like a 3D visioning. For those of you that have watched the Ignite conference, keynote address by the president for Microsoft, you'll saw a lot of really cool stuff that, using HoloLens and OctoLenses and that sort of stuff, where you could basically put yourself into a 3D version of yourself into a virtual environment. And that's sort of using AI as well for part of that. It uses natural language processing, so you can interpret written or spoken language and respond based on those keywords that you'll work with, and also conversational artificial intelligence, so that you can have software agents that participate in conversations, and so they will actually. You don't really know that you're talking to a computer because of the way that the system is designed. So first of all, the key point to artificial intelligence is the idea of machine learning. And so how do we actually get a computer to learn how things work, or how the information will be processed, and what information it's going to have. To do this, we have to fill the computer with data, okay? There is so much data, everything has data in it, whether it is something that you've created, something that an IoT device is captured as part of a piece of information that it's collected. There's all sorts of different places that information can be extracted from and used to generate information, okay? And so we can use things such as social media posts, we can use text messages, we can do videos, we can use all sorts of stuff. And all of those data points can then be added in, and the machine can then learn from all of those data points how to interact with not only people, but other devices and software pieces as well. And this is all done as a data scientist. So you may have heard of the term data analyst before, or database administrator before. There's now specialized positions in the IT industry called data scientists. Many universities actually have university degrees specifically to working with data and becoming data scientists. And it's those data scientists that will help to train the machine learning models and how to make predictions and inferences and all sorts of other things, and how they're based in the system and how they can find that information. So as well, we need to figure out from a Microsoft point of view, how do we get machine learning to work in Azure? Okay, so Microsoft Azure has the machine learning service, which is all cloud-based. Okay, there is no on-premise version of this, and the reason for that, of course, is that there's so much computing power required to make machine learning work that it can only feasibly exist in the cloud. But it is part of your cloud-based subscription to Azure. And from there, you can set up the creation, management, publishing of different types of machine learning modules. You can create apps. You can do all sorts of different integrations and interrogations into other pieces of software. There's three different ways that machine learning exists in the Microsoft Azure platform. Okay, so first of all, automated machine learning. So to be able to get the data into the system, we need to make sure that there is data available so that people who are not data scientists can quickly and effectively create machine learning models from different types of data that they have, right? So as an example, I am an architect. I do a lot of architecture in the Power Platform and Dynamics 365, mostly in finance and operations. And we use machine learning there to help organizations with sales. So we could do sales predictions and so forth. The machine learning tool is, in one organization as an example, is used so that when a user logs onto a purchasing website, so they have a subscription to a store, and when they log into the store, on the front page of the store, it says, oh, these are things that based on your purchase history, we're going to recommend for you. It doesn't actually say it that way, but that's basically how it works in the back end. And so for every user that logs into the system, they go in and they go, oh, okay, machine learning, it says, oh, well, this person buys fishing rods and hip waders and reels to go with all of the fishing equipment. So the next time they log in, it's going to give them some, links to things like, new fishing clothes and vests and parkas and all those sorts of things, right? Also, the machine learner will have a designer in it. And what that designer will do is it will create the graphical interface. And so the big phrase out of Microsoft these days is low code, no code development. And what the machine learning designer is there for is to help you enable no code development so that you can generate your own machine learning solution. And there's also the data and computation management features that come with it as well. So all the cloud storage, the data storage that you require, the databases, data lakes, all those sorts of things that have all of the resources that you will have data located so that your professional data scientists can have that extra layer of data that they have access to. And then they could run things like experimental code, right? So if you're doing pharmaceuticals as an example, and of course we have COVID around the world, we could use machine learning through Azure to run experimental processes so that we can see whether a certain type of viral or antiviral will work on a certain type of virus and that sort of thing. But there are all sorts of different components that exist within the Azure platform that are usable by people such as data scientists, it could be software engineers, IT professionals, whatever it is. And so this is how we're going to generate the training plans that the machine learning will follow. Once the machine learning has been completed, the deployment, and then also the management tasks. The key to good machine learning, whether this is in Azure or any platform, is understanding how the Azure system works in the sense of the key data points that you enter into machine learning. So machine learning is only as good as the person who's actually entering the information, okay? And so if you put in crappy information, you're going to get crappy information out. And so what we need to do is that we need to make sure that the type of data that is going into the machine learning module is concise and clean and accurate and is easy for the machine to actually understand and learn from. And if we do that, then we're going to be able to have a good system in place that will be able to give us results that are useful and meaningful to us. One of the things that we can do, besides putting in things like keywords and those sorts of things, is, as I mentioned previously, is the idea of using graphics and videos and those sorts of things in the system. And so Azure has the support in the system of cognitive services for computer vision solutions. So this includes things like services to analyze images and videos. If you have usually when you take a picture, there will be some sort of a description attached to it. You may have different tags attached to it. You may have an object associated with it. You may have alternative text associated to it. And so the computer will actually look at the image and will extract all of that information and record it into the database for that particular machine learning module. There are also computer custom visions that we can generate. And so here we can train the system to create custom image classifications. We could use detection models. So if we have our own images that we've taken pictures with, our cell phone or an SLR camera or whatever, we can create customized visions of those particular items so that we can classify those and have that information stored into the system as well. Facial recognition, that's a huge one these days. Artificial intelligence and computer learning is huge in the field of facial recognition and facial services, so that you could do all sorts of things such as security, facial examples, all of those sorts of things that we can use. And then lastly, forms recognizers. So we can have it automate the process of going in and looking at forms and extracting information out of those forms, so that we can add those pieces of information into the model as well. The whole point behind this, of course, is that the more accurate and clean information that is stored in the Azure machine learning data source, the better the machine learning tool will be able to extract and produce valid results for us. The next thing is something called natural language processing. Okay, so this is another thing that is built into the Azure platform that needs to be set up and configured. But what this will do is that it sets up a list of cognitive features and cognitive services that you can use to build natural language processing solutions. And the types of services that we have for those include things such as text analytics, right? So we can use services to analyze different types of text and documents, extract key phrases, detect entities, and those sorts of things. If you have any experience with SharePoint search engines, this is sort of along the lines of the search capabilities that the SharePoint environment had, where you could put in key phrases and keywords and you could detect things in documents and use SharePoint to actually extract information. Well, if we're using SharePoint Online, we can now attach natural language processing through Azure Machine Learning to your SharePoint databases and do even a better job of extracting information on searches. We can also use this for document conversions, document searches. So you may have a large file share somewhere of documents that you need to be able to find information out of, and so you can use machine learning to do a quick evaluation of those documents and extract the ones that fulfill the requirements that you're looking for. Also, the capability of using translation text. So there are 60 different languages that are supported in the system that Azure has to do language translations. And if you've ever used the Microsoft Translation app or even the Google Translation app, those have machine learning capabilities in the background so that it can either detect text that you've typed in or translate speech that you've typed in, that you've spoken in, and then translate through either synthesization of speech or through the text translator capabilities. But in any case, you do have that capability to translate text. I have friends that live in Russia. I have friends that live in Germany and whatnot, and most of those people speak English, and I don't speak Russian or German or Romanian or any of those languages. But what I will do is on things like birthdays and anniversaries is that I will use the Azure machine learning tool and type in, congratulations or happy birthday or whatever it is, and then have it send it to them in their translated language. I think it's just a nice thing to do for people when it's their special day, and it's not something that they expect. And so when they open up their messages and they see that, Brent's written them a message in Russian and it's in their own language and they don't have to translate it on their end, that, it's just something a little nice to do. But those features are built into the system. So you could actually build an app that does translation services for you, so that if a customer is coming from one language and needs to talk to and communicate with your system, that it will be able to translate the text for you. There's the last one is a service is called the Language Understanding Intelligence Service. And what this is there for is it's to train the language module so that it can understand spoken or text-based commands. Living in the UK, there are, I read this not that long ago, there is a different accent every 2 blocks in the United Kingdom. So there's a different inflection, there's a different tone. A couple of weekends ago, I was in Scotland, and if you've ever been to Scotland and you've talked to somebody from Glasgow or from Edinburgh, Edinburgh is much like London. It's very more sort of posh and refined. Glasgow is very much more rough and much more difficult to understand. And so when I talk to the system as a Canadian originally, the system has no problem understanding me. If a person from Edinburgh talks to the system, it generally will be okay in sense of being able to understand what the person is saying. If I take a person from Glasgow and they speak a rugged Glaswegian accent, the system has no clue. So as part of the process of setting this up, you need to set up the language services so that it can be trained to learn those different modules. And that machine learning capability is something that car companies use to train their onboard computer systems to do voice translations. So when you say, call Leela, call Brent, call mom, call dad, whatever, it can actually understand you through the voice commands of the system. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. Conversational AI. Conversational AI is based on the idea of bots. Okay, so probably every person that has connected to a website that has ever asked for help, or if you go onto a website and there's a little tab on the side that says start a chat, right? And so you go, oh, okay, I'm going to start a chat, and it says, hi, I'm so and so, and I'm here to help you, whatever. 9 times out of 10, you're not talking to a person, you're talking to a robot. You're talking to an application that is based on machine learning and artificial intelligence. And that's one of the primary tools that Azure is used for, is to create these bots that can be used to interact and support customers and so forth. But the bots can be used for a number of different things. So customer service support, products and services, right? So you go on and you're searching for information, and one of the options is start a chat for support. Well, you click on the chat, and then it will try and figure out from certain types of keywords what it is that you're looking for, or you'll be prompted with different topics. So when you go in, it says, "Can you tell me what you're looking for?" And it'll give you options, and you can click on the option, and it'll lead you down those devices. That's more of a programmed artificial intelligence rather than a learned system, but it can still learn from that process because of the way people type text into the screens. It could also be used for things like creating reservations, airline tickets, restaurants, reservations, anything that's an appointment-based system that can have a calendar that's attached to a bot. Healthcare consultations, self-diagnosis. This is getting very humanoid in the sense that in the UK, there is now a nurse that actually will be used in senior citizens' homes that will basically have direct interaction with senior citizens to give senior citizens who are in hospice or they have dementia, that sort of stuff, and can't get out or don't have people to visit them on a regular basis. These robots can actually interact with them, and they can help them with all sorts of things of just having that conversation. Even though it's a robot, it still looks like a human person, it acts like a human person. It can help them. So if a person needs medicine, the robot can help them with that, and they can then call up to the nurse's desk and get them to assist with that. And self-diagnose. So you can go online and talk to a doctor or talk to a virtual nurse, a virtual doctor, or an automated one, and say, oh, I've got a cold. What's the best thing for a runny nose? And then so it can come back and say, oh, well, you probably have this or this or this, and we recommend, Sinutab or Benadryl or what have it as some sort of a diagnosis and prescription. And then any sort of home automation, hey Google, hey Siri, Alexa, whatever. Those are, again, artificial intelligence-based systems that use personal digital assistants and other types of tools to communicate with you. The last thing we're going to talk about here before we end it is to deal with some of the challenges that we have with artificial intelligence. There is a huge issue with bias. So as an example here, it says a loan approval model discriminates by gender due to bias in the data in which it was trained. Because a lot of artificial intelligence and machine learning is based on the information that the developers put into the system, you need to be very careful in how you actually put the information in. And because of that, depending upon who is doing the development and the programming, you could implement, accidentally, bias into the system. It could be sex-based, it could be race-based, it could be whatever it could be. But that biases could be implemented into the system, and so you do need to be careful when you're challenging the system, when you're putting the information in, that you try to avoid any risks as much as possible or biases as much as possible. An error may cause a harm. Okay, we all hear about autonomous vehicles. Autonomous vehicles are the greatest thing. They're going to drive us to the airport when we need to go out and all that sort of stuff. The problem is that if it doesn't work the way that we thought it was going to work or the way it was designed, it could actually cause a collision and death, right? I have been in an autonomous vehicle before. It was kind of cool. It was really neat, but it's not something that I would want to be able to drive down the highway in. That being said, there have been situations where I know this happened in Canada last year. There was a person driving a Tesla who decided that they were going to have a nap while they were driving on the highway, because of course Teslas have the little thing that will check the white lines on the road. And they decided to lay back and have a nap and let the car drive them to their next destination. And the only reason that they got caught was because they were speeding, and when they got pulled over by the police, they found the guy literally passed out cold sleeping. But the car has smart enough intelligence in it to know that it was being pulled over, so it had to slow down and pull over to the side of the road. Data that could be exposed also is possible. So as an example, if you're trying to do medical diagnosis or something like that, it may accidentally display sensitive patient information. And that's due to a fact of poor design. So you may have designed it so that there isn't enough data integrity and data security around the information that's there. And so that could be a challenge and a risk as well. Solutions may not work for everyone. Again, I mentioned things like voice recognition may not work for certain languages because of the accent. It's very hard to understand. Or you may also have things for impaired users that they can't actually connect to the system as well. So they're unable to interact because they can't see the output visually, or they don't have any voice, or they're deaf, or any of that sort of stuff to be able to interact. So the solution might not necessarily be the perfect thing for everybody. You have to have user buy-in. A lot of times users don't trust technology for obvious reasons. And so you need to have trust built into the system so that you can convince users that it's a valid a tool to be able to interact with. And then lastly, ultimately, who's responsible for what decisions are used for AI? You know, is it the example here, an innocent person convicted of crime based on evidence for facial recognition, who's responsible? There's all sorts of legal and ethical situations around artificial intelligence that are still being worked out and worked on by industry and academics and the legal community. And so those are, a possibility as well, that somebody got tagged for something that they didn't actually do, and what's the repercussions that we have to deal with around it. So that is a very high, and I mean a very, very high point of view of sort of the introduction to what artificial intelligence is, and some of the features that exist in the Microsoft Azure framework. There are, as was mentioned previously, there are many classes available through NetCom. And AI 102 is the one I would recommend. It is very thorough and does a very good job of teaching you how to program in and utilize machine learning and artificial intelligence in Azure. And Leela, I'm passing back to you.
Thank you so much, Brent. As always, your stories are not only entertaining, but engaging. I am just dying over here about the Tesla story. Like, quite thoroughly impressed that the car could be pulled over and
Yep.
the guy was just out cold.
He was sound asleep.
Oh, I bet that was a fun ticket to get.
I can imagine.
Oh my goodness. So with that, we are actually going to hear from Mary Feeney. She's our director of vendor and product. She's going to introduce some promotions and webinar related courses. Mary,
Hi, Leela. Hello, Brent. And yes, it's hard to fit in, 25 minutes of
I
very
know.
interesting topic.
I
think
know.
Brent
It's
can
crazy.
go on and on.
You should be able to share your screen.
Okay.
I don't think you labeled yourself, so I wasn't sure if that was you. Yep, there we go.
This is me. So I just want, while you're putting your question in the question pane, I just want to go through some information that you can find on our website. As Leela said earlier, this is part of a very robust information. It's a taste of what to expect in the AI courses that Microsoft has. So one thing that I would like to invite you to visit after this is go to our Microsoft page. This is our website, netcomlearning.com. And we do have a poster, a certification path poster that you can look into to see what are the courses and certification that you can take depending on the role that you have. So this particular webinar is on the AI fundamentals. So this is just a taste of this, but if you'd like to have that deep understanding, learn the concepts, I would encourage you to look into the Azure fundamentals. If you do not have any background on Azure, this gives you the understanding and concepts of Azure Cloud. And then there are also other two fundamental courses, which is the AI 900, which is actually where this webinar is coming from. And you also have your DP 900 for data fundamentals. And as you go down, if you're already working on-prem and would like to go on the cloud, then there are role-based training for AI professionals and data professionals, such as you have your AI engineer associate, you have your data engineer, analyst, your data scientist, and you will really learn all of what Brent has describe. A very common application is having bots, and you know, we all have experienced those, especially when going to our favorite sites, asking questions. That is a very common feature that companies are taking advantage of. Another thing in your packet of information that I'd like to draw you to is Brent also mentioned about low code, no code. We are running a free PL100 class. This is the Power Platform App Maker, which is a 3-day course. It happens on a Saturday. We have a lot of customers that cannot take classes during their work week. So we schedule this starting December 4. So if interested, please contact us to sign up. Again, this is the full class with the book and the labs, the full hands-on that we are offering. Now, another important information is that, as always, learning is great because you are acquiring the skills to perform your job better. But what better way to show your company, or if you're looking for work, that you are certified? And with this, Microsoft has worked with us to extend very significant discounts on our fundamentals exams. So instead of 99, you get 40% off, and that is $60. And for our advanced role base, instead of 165, that is going to be 124. So if in case this is something that you plan to do, and I encourage you to do this, please just contact us so you can purchase the vouchers at discounted rate. This promotion is only valid till the 31st of January. But you can take the exam after this. There is a validity for every exam voucher. Lastly, we also have, because it is the holidays, so we are giving out gift cards for your purchases. So I would encourage you to go to our promo page, or just click on the learn more in your information packet. And, we will, each course will have an attached gift card amount, that you can either use to take more courses, buy, exam vouchers, or however you want to use this gift card. And I encourage you to visit the promotions page. We're 85% of companies are multi-cloud, so there may be some of you who are using AWS as well. If you'd like to get a head start, just like the Microsoft Fundamentals, AWS has their Cloud Practitioner Essentials. We have a special class on December 18, wherein we're only offering it at 139. This is a 650, if I'm not mistaken, class. And again, it is the full 1-day class. So please take a look at this, see what will work for you. And if you have Cisco, we're also a Cisco learning partner. If security is very important as well, please check out this promotion. And if you have any questions, feel free to email us at webinar@netcomlearning.com. Thanks, Leela, for the time.
Thank you so much, Mary. It really is the best time of the year to kind of treat yourself and invest in your future, because if you're making these investments in your future, this time next year, you could have significantly upgraded
Oh,
your
yes.
life. And so give
Yes.
yourself that gift. And these are amazing, amazing discounts that I'm seeing. I think it's our best ones of the year. Really.
Exactly. Leela, you've been here, right? So yes, this is really holly holiday.
Yes, yeah, it is. So thank you for showing us those. I hope that you all will take advantage of that if you have the opportunity to. Um, with that being said, we are going to go ahead and jump right into our question and answer session. If you do have any questions, put those right into our question box and we will address those. As soon as we get through all of them, we'll go ahead and wrap up the session. So I just don't want you to miss out because you're maybe shy or waiting to ask your questions. Our first question that we have today is, Azure offers integration with ML Flow. What is the difference between ML Flow and Azure ML, and can we use both?
So you do have to, well, you actually have to integrate the Azure machine learning services into Flow to take full advantage of the Flow features. So some of the things that you can do in Flow exist natively, but the majority of the higher end capabilities are going to need the Azure machine learning features enabled and attached to Flow, so that it can learn and be able to return results and work properly with the Flow environment. Flow is new in the sense of using automation. So actually, it's called Power Automate now, if I'm thinking of what you're talking about. But yes, you could use the machine learning capabilities in there to take advantage of the advanced features of Flow / Power Automate. But yeah, like the Power Automate features there, it will do some automation for you, and it can be quite complex. But if you're going to be using very complex features, you need to have ML installed.
Wonderful. Thank you. I'm always impressed how people can just ask these questions freely, and how your knowledge base is so large that you can just right off the top of your head answer them like no big deal. Our next question that we have is the service free with your Azure subscription?
Yes and no. So Azure does support basic machine learning capabilities that you can use in your environments. However, if you're going to be using an integration with applications such as sales or marketing or finance and operations, they are a pay-for service. And so the Azure website will actually does a very good job of listing out the costs that are associated with using the machine learning engine in Azure.
Awesome. Okay, I'm seeing about 2 more questions right now. Can AI be used in other applications?
Yes. So as I mentioned previously, you can use it with pretty much any of the Microsoft stack of applications on the business side. So whether it's finance operations, sales, marketing, field services, Navision, Business Central, not Navision, Business Central, there are all add-ins that can be used using the AI capabilities to help with all sorts of different things.
Thank you. Okay, I think we're looking at our last question now, unless somebody pops another one in. Where can I use a bot created in Azure?
Anywhere. It's quite simple. You can use it anywhere. You could use it on your own web page. You could use it on a site that you are hosting in Azure. You can use it in one of your other tenant tools. But basically, if you create a bot in Azure, you can use it just about anywhere you want.
Wonderful. Well, I've said it before, but I will say it again. It is always a pleasure to work with you on these webinars, to learn from you, and just to hear your perspective and learn all about these topics. It's awesome. With that being said, and since we don't have any other questions right now, we're going to go ahead and launch a quick poll to find out how many people might be interested in taking some additional training. In addition to our webinar today, we have a lot of informative webinars that are coming up. So please go to www.netcomlearning.com/webinars/ to register for any of those. And we want to thank you all for taking time out of your day and joining us. If you do come up with any additional questions, please feel free to send them to us at webinar@netcomlearning.com at any time. And we hope you found today's webinar to be very informative. We look forward to seeing you back here with us very soon. And also, please feel free to tell your friends and colleagues about our webinars and other courses. Once again, thank you everyone for joining us. Have a wonderful day and happy holidays.